I'm going to attempt to beat Elden Ring while being severely limited on the amount of actions that I can do. That's a big title. I gotta think of something different. Let's see. Elden Ring but I'm disabled? Decent, although it might offend someone. Elden Ring but I'm a cripple? Well, that's pretty much the same. Elden Ring but my input choices are limited. There we go. I wanna say a massive thank you to Alphas Omega for the inspiration. It's a great idea that I was all too eager to try out. And I also want to thank each and every person who is watching the content that I produce. I really do appreciate that. Seeing the love and support in the comments just makes my day every time and keeps me motivated to produce more of these videos. Again, I am beyond grateful. So, back to the video. During this challenge run, I am only allowed to do 2 actions during a boss fight. Now, what do I define as an action? This is gonna be a long one. Movement, which encompasses such actions as walking, sprinting, crouching, and jumping. Dodging and rolling, light attacks, heavy attacks. Using my offhand button for dual wielding or blocking. Using incantations or sorceries. Basically, if anything fits into the spell's tab, it's an action. Using equipment like drinking the flasks, spirit summoning, and so on, so anything that fits into the equipment slot is considered an action. And finally, using Ashes of War. So, for instance, if I wanted to defeat Malekith, I would enter his boss arena, and as soon as his health bar appears, I will only be able to perform 2 of these actions. And for him, I would choose movement and using Ashes of War. Oh, and so as not to abuse Comet Azor all of the time, I'm going to be using different weapons or builds for each boss. So once I use the weapon or a spell to defeat a boss, I am no longer able to use it. That was a lengthy intro, and I hope that I was able to get across what the rules are. So without further ado,
let's get to it.
With the character ready to go, I started the run by collecting all of the essential items.
Money! 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 Money!
A few hours in, I was somewhat confident in fighting Margit, which gave me a sense of how the fight with Morgoth will go down. I can never learn the attack patterns of neither Margit nor Morgoth because I'm lazy as hell, but still, the fight went relatively smoothly. Also, if you see me moving slightly forwards before dodging, that's because I am required to press the move forward button, and there's a slight animation of the character moving because of that. And if I just press the dodge button, the character will backstab, so hopefully that's not a big deal. With Margit out of the way, I progressed further into Stormvale, where I faced off with Godric, who, again, wasn't an issue even if I couldn't dodge his attacks. Moving on, I grabbed the Great Sword, which I was planning to use on Radahn, got the Uchigatana, talked to Raya, got to Volcano Manor, and started progressing Varus questline to get access to the Mogwing Palace farm, got the Great Stars for future use, and finally received my reward. The next quest I wanted to complete was the contract that Patches gives you for Greathorn Draggoth, so I talked to him in Volcano Manor and moved over to the Ruin-strewn precipice to get the toughest and heaviest armor in the game. I farmed up a bit so as not to be heavy loaded while wearing the armor, and moved in to fight Renala with the spiked Kestis. The fight wasn't really all that notable as Renala just kisses the bed whenever the Tarnished does literally anything besides casting magic, so yeah. After being done with Renala, I was able to respec mostly into strength, leveling my endurance up to the point of me being on the verge of being overloaded, and went into the Radahn fight. I pre-buffed my greatsword with the Craigblade Ash of War before entering the fight, and sprinted towards the big man, taking massive chunks of health from Radahn with my charged attacks, finishing the fight in just under a minute. Time to prepare for Morgoth. I first got the Giant Crusher, defeated the Draconic Tree Sentinel with the most efficient way, and went in to explore Nokron to find the Mimic Tier summon. With that slight detour out of the way, I quickly finished off the Golden Shade Godfrey, and went into the fight against the Omen King. And yeah, Lion's Claw is kind of busted. It's definitely one of the best Ashes of War in the game, definitely in my top 3 because of its damage, versatility, stagger potential, and the hyper armor during the animation. With this Ash of War, the Tarnished is literally unstoppable. Moving on from that, I grabbed Lionel's armor for future use, and got the Giant's Prayer Book on the mountaintops. My initial idea for beating the Fire Giant was with the Mariah's Executioner's Sword and movement, but it for some reason didn't occur to me that I didn't have enough FP, and I needed to approach this boss with a method that wouldn't require consumption of FP. So I went in with the dual bleed katana cancer build, which everyone seems to love so much, and quickly showed the Fire Giant was the boss. After the Fire Giant, I gave the Prayer Book to Miriel, and got the Giant's Flame take the incantation. Also, this area has a ton of Trina's lilies. There's like 9 of them in one spot. Here's the location on the map. Anyways, Albus willingly gave me the Halo Tree Medallion part, I then respec'd into a Faith build, and moved on over to Command Denial. After that, I made my way over to the consecrated snowfield, then into Mikul's Halig Tree, where I got the Pearl Drake Talisman, fought Latina the Horse Lady, and by the end of the Legacy Dungeon, I got the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. Time to burn the Erd Tree and fight the #1 most hated boss in the game, the Godskin Duo, for which I was preparing for quite some time. Before starting out this run, I knew for a fact that I would require the Mimic Chair to carry my ass for this fight, so the plan was put both Skinny Pete and Huel to sleep, summon the Mimic, and just throw rocks at the Godskins for the rest of the fight, occasionally putting one of them back to sleep so that the Mimic Chair wouldn't get overwhelmed, and my Mimic at that point had all of the tools that he would need to survive as long as I needed him to, with the Great Stars and Prayerful Strike Ash of War, both of which restore health upon hitting an enemy, with Prayerful Strike being kind of busted in a sense. Most of the talismans were also to help the sustainability of the Mimic with the shield talismans, and yeah, I was super glad to see that pretty much everything that I've been building towards went so smoothly. At this point, I was in dire need of levels, so I quickly finished off the bosses in Volcano Manor, Now was high time to prepare for Malekith, and for him I would need these talismans and tools: Magic Scorpion Talisman, Spellblade Armor, Misericord, Carrion Grandeur, and finally Shard of Alexander. This is probably one of my all-time favorite ways to beat this guy, and if you want to see me make a video on some other ways that you can use to beat Malekith, do tell me in the comments down below. Once again, I needed levels, so it's time to farm the bosses. Malenia was a tough cookie to crack, not gonna lie, even with my favorite cheese tactic on deploy. For her, I chose to use equipment and incantations, and the biggest problem with that were obviously Waterfowl Dance and the start to her phase 2. Iron Jar Aromatic basically made it so most of her attacks wouldn't stagger me out of Burn or Flame, and a Freezing Pot can easily deal with her Waterfowl once, and it can also stagger her out of her Scarlet Ionia, but the timing is all over the place on that attack and I couldn't do it consistently, so the only option to survive with Scarlet Ionia was to literally tank it. The 50 Vigor that I had just wouldn't cut it, and frankly speaking neither would 60 Vigor, so I chose to use Morgoth's Great Rune to get the maximum amount of health that I could, and the rest was quite easy.
Oh, fuck.
No, 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 no! Wait!
Strength extraordinary. The mark of a true lord.
The fight with Gideon just has to be the highlight of my time playing Elden Ring. It's just pure comedic gold.
Hey, Freak Joe! You're going nowhere!
With Chat-Free out of the way, that leaves us with only Radagon and the Elden Beast remaining. I tested quite a bit of strategies before I eventually beat the two of them, starting with movement and heavy attacks. That didn't work. Equipment and Ashes of War. That didn't work either. And the coolest method that I couldn't get to work, which broke my heart honestly, movement and Ashes of War. The fight with Radagon was easy, I was able to go through him consistently enough, but I just couldn't finish the Elden Beast with the remaining amount of FP, which made me reconsider my options and respec one last time into a Faith build. So this is how I beat Elden Ring with limited inputs. Thank you everybody for watching, have a good one, peace.